Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You've been around a lot of corpses. Is that normal?
What, the feet thing?
Yeah, the feet thing.
Yeah, it happens.
I'm having kind of a hard time concentrating. Can you do something about it?
Well, like what? Kill him again?
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. If you're listening to us live on Spreaker, if you're listening to us in podcast world, hello! I tried to be happy there. It failed. You're listening to the Blu-Ray and DVD section of the show. We have films to review. They are, Andy, go ahead.
I'm going to get you some, I forgot the name of it now, some like pills that make you happy.
Yeah, Ritalin.
Yeah, no, that's, well, maybe, yeah.
I don't need Ritalin.
We have Jason Bateman is subject of Identity Thief by Melissa McCarthy. We have a dramatic thriller with Richard Gere and Arbitrage. We have Robot and Frank with the great Frank Langella. A horror movie called Static, and a movie which has taken 5 years to be released in this country, The Assassination, or also known as The Assassination of a High School President.
Yep, and as usual we have the Blu-ray and DVD top 10, so let's kick off with that now. Sorry, I will cheer up now. Number 10, Monsters Inc.
I need a slap sound effect. I need a sound effect board, and one of them has to be a slap socket.
No, you don't get the sound effect board. I do. I can have sound effects of slaps here and stuff like that if I wanted to.
Don't make me do sound effects with my mouth, because I will do them.
Please don't. That sounds really wrong. That family show wrong. Yeah,
Monsters Inc. I mean, obviously in there because of Monsters University. It's better than Monsters University. Don't bother going to see Monsters University. Just get this instead if you haven't got it already.
Yep, number 9, Wreck-It Ralph.
Which is taken over the new mantle from Pixar as being the best animated movies around at the moment, both in animation and story and fun and funny. Apart from maybe Despicable Me 2.
Yeah, but there's another Despicable Me reference. If you were listening to the cinema section, if you were listening to the cinema section of the show, we did mention a quick drinking game. If you hear us mention anything to do with Despicable Me or Despicable Me 2 in any way, shape or form, and you've got alcohol beside you, get yourself completely drunk, because that's what's going to happen.
It is a Monday night, remember?
Yeah, well, they could be listening to it on a Friday night, and they could be absolutely sussled by now and thinking, why the hell are we listening to this? And number 8, Life of Pi.
Which is absolutely fantastic, and I think one of the best ones that's used 3D recently as well. Ang Lee's got this amazing visual style to his story, but it's also quite an emotional story too. And I forget the name of the actor, but it's his first real film, and he's absolutely fantastic in it.
I know you think that animated films are better in 3D, but the 3D for Despicable Me 2 is actually not too bad, and that's from a 3D hater. At number 7, and you went with for Red Dawn.
Which is the unnecessary remake. Again, it waited for 2 years to come out because of the problems they had with MGM and financing problems. It's not a bad film. It's enjoyable, but it's dumb, brainless, enjoyable kind of film. And I don't know that I would say to get it, but maybe rent it if you're curious, because it's a good 90-minute fun film.
Yeah, number 6, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Which, likewise, if you're into cheesy, trashy MTV-style movies, then check this out. Otherwise, avoid it because you'll hate it, like Stuart did.
Oh, yeah. I hated it really badly.
I thought it was fun and stupid, but I went in knowing what it was going to be, and it is an MTV movie. It comes up at the beginning, MTV movie, so you have immediately an idea of what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I put up a tweet a little bit earlier on saying I've watched 180 films so far this year, and I have 6 in my top films of the year. 6 out of 180. And this is actually in my bottom list, to be honest.
I've still got to figure out the rest of mine, but I've got 3 that are definitely in there, including the next movie in the top 10.
Which is number 5 is Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this film. I absolutely adore this film. It is a $200 million? It's an expensive film, but it is a indie film. It's not a blockbuster film, and it's a brilliant idea from the book, which is differently told in the film, but absolutely amazing. Loved it. I am saying to everyone, you should see this, but watch it. Don't be doing something at the same time. It is one you've got to watch.
$102 million, just in case you were interested. Yeah.
I think it was 2 for some reason, but it's not.
There's going to be a huge, massive fight at the end of the year because I don't think this will make it in our combined top 10 list. I think Andy should be happy that it's in his list on its own, but not the combined list because I didn't think it was brilliant.
That depends what you want to have in the top 10 what's in yours, so we'll see.
From Up on Poppy Hill. It's just from Up on Poppy Hill 10 times, probably.
That wasn't this year, though, was it?
Yeah, From Up on Poppy Hill's out on August the 2nd.
Is that not a re-release?
No. Cinema release on August the 2nd.
Okay.
At number 4, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Which is enjoyable. Surprisingly, again, a good use of 3D in this film. It is a Sam Raimi film, so there is that horror aspect to it. Even though it's a PG, there are horror elements to it. Probably won't have the same impact on home DVD viewing that it does in cinema. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. A lot of people not so much. But I found it quite delightful.
Oh, delightful.
Yeah.
At number 3, you went for Safe Haven.
Which is a typical run-of-the-mill romance with a twist. And if you haven't figured out what the twist is about halfway through it, then you haven't seen enough of these films, and you really should stop because you'll hate watching them after this one.
Yeah, all I'll just say is, if you've seen a film that's been written by Nicholas Sparks...
Don't.
Well, all I'm just saying is, if you've seen a film that's been written by Nicholas Sparks, you know what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen. All of his... Well, it's true, all of his films follow exactly the same formula, so I'm not giving anything away if all of his films follow exactly the same formula, so you can probably predict the twist about 1 minute into the film if you know what Nicholas Sparks' books are like. Number 2, Despicable Me.
Which what can we say? Fantastic. Don't say it. Don't do it.
Despicable Me, Despicable Me, Despicable Me, Despicable Me. There's 5 more drinks you've got to take. And at number 1, and you went for Parker.
Which I'm surprised that... it's probably just because it's a Jason Statham film, but it's a disappointing Jason Statham film. It's unnecessarily long. It has unnecessary characters, like the one played by Jennifer Lopez, who should be in it for about 5 minutes and then tossed aside out of the script altogether because she's not needed after that. It starts out well, interesting opening. After that, it's unfortunately just not entertaining and suffers a lack of any real redeeming action sequences.
Yep, right, let's go to a break, and after that we'll have our first review of the night.
From page to screen.
So they have, 9 times out of 10, they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look. But sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is. For me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
So that was an ad for From Page to Screen. Number 2 in the number there. I'll give details at the end of the show. First review.
Identity Thief, which is directed by Seth Gordon. It stars Jason Bateman as a character named Sandy Patterson, who at the start of the film everything seems to be going fine for him. He's a kind of an underling executive at this company, where he essentially then, after having a horrible meeting with his boss, who's played by Jon Favreau, who plays an absolutely despicable character, and after that meeting, he ends up walking out with a whole bunch of all his workmates who decided they're going to start up their own company, and he is then offers a vice president sort of position with them at this new company. Everything seems to be going fine for him until he's then pulled over and arrested because of the fact of all the things sort of going on at the moment. He's apparently missed a court date for an assault charge, which he has no memory of ever happening. Here's a clip.
Are you Sandy Bigelow Patterson, born May 18th, 1974?
That is you, correct? Yeah, that's it. But it's not me doing this stuff. I've never even been to the state. I'm here with you guys. I'm in Colorado. How can I be in Florida?
Call Winter Park PD. Pull a mugshot. Okay, uncuff him.
Uncuff me. Oh, that's great. Can I see? Whoa.
Yeah.
Was that a woman?
If I had to guess, it's the woman that stole your identity. Obviously taking advantage of the fact that you have a female name.
Oh, it's not female, it's unisex. When you say stole my identity, do you mean credit card fraud?
Oh, no, it's a lot worse than that. See, what happens is they get a hold of your name, your birthday, social security, and then they run up debt. Get arrested, commit crimes as you.
What do you do now? You go down, you go get her?
Oh, no. See, we don't go get anyone. Let me walk you out. See, we're Denver PD. All we do is open and close the case. Now, if she buys something on Amazon, then Seattle PD would investigate. Your mobile company's in Ohio, then Cleveland PD handles that. Then so on and so forth for every single thing.
Well, hang on. How long does all this take?
About 6 months to a year.
A year?
Lo and behold, his identity has been stolen by Diana, played by Melissa McCarthy, who, as you heard in that clip, is all the way across the other side of the country in Miami. What Sandy has to decide to do is he's trying to figure this out, how to get out of this problem he's got where his work is going to be affected and potentially he's being threatened with being fired because everything looks bad for the company. He manages to talk his boss, played by John Cho, into giving him some time so he can set up a sting basically with the police, because the police can't do anything because it's in a different state. But if he can go out there, find Diana, bring her back to there and get her caught up in a sting so the police can then get her talking about her stealing his identity and such, she can then be arrested, charged, and it can all be cleared up for him. So here's the thing with Identity Thief. It's one of these latest kind of movies that you have where it's basically a buddy movie comedy that's been set up with those circumstances in this case. And it ends up sort of two guys being in a car, road trip kind of thing. And it's just, unfortunately, not funny. I laughed once in this film that's supposed to be a comedy. It's not really a comedy. I had the same problem with this as I had with a film a little while ago, Due Date, when it's got characters in it that I didn't particularly like. There are some characters in this that are really dislikable. There's a couple of things as well that are set up with, as always, you have a couple other characters in the background who are then chasing the characters to try and get something, and that kind of fizzles out before it gets to the end of the film. There is, on the DVD, there's just the normal version, which is an hour and 50 minutes. On the Blu-ray, there is an extended version available as well, which runs another 10, 12 minutes longer, although why you would bother, I don't know, because that's not going to be stuff that's funny if they cut it out of the film. And it really just... I've had enough of these comedies that aren't comedies. It doesn't even want to take itself seriously and be a drama, so you can't say it's drama or comedy. It's just... it's very hard to actually describe it as being any type of film, but it's just not funny. I laughed once, as I said, and the thing I laughed at is in the trailer, but I just hadn't watched the trailer for so long because I had forgotten it, and I laughed and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, I remember seeing that in the trailer.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I didn't find it funny at all. I don't. The thing, Melissa McCarthy is deemed as this sort of like savior of female comedy when it comes to films. Bridesmaids, The Heat, which is up and coming, which it looks very generic to me. She was also in The Hangover Part 3 as a little tiny role in that, and I don't find her funny at all. She was supposedly the funniest bit of Bridesmaids, but all of her funny stuff was in the trailer of Bridesmaids, and I just don't find her funny.
There's just also as well there's something how it's one of these like planes, trains and automobiles. It's like one problem after another after another after another. That if it was really happening, you go, come on, what's going on? Am I in a Judd Apatow film or something? And this isn't Judd Apatow. It fortunately doesn't have that gross out element. I mean, fortunately, it doesn't have that gross out element to it, apart from maybe one sequence where you're like, yeah, okay, I didn't need that. But it's. I mean, the thing is, well, this is less funny than Bridesmaids. That's how I would say, if you're deciding if you want to see it or not, then, you know, think back to Bridesmaids and whether or not you want to see a film that is, I think, longer and less funnier than that film. And that's not a funny film.
Bridesmaids is on for 2 hours. So it's a boring
well, this
film.
This
anyway,
felt longer. This felt longer.
I actually do agree with you. It did feel longer. I trudged through this film when I reviewed it in the cinema section, so it's a boring movie. Next up is Arbitrage. It's directed by Nicholas Jarecki and it stars Richard Gere, who plays Robert Miller. And Robert Miller, he's a successful financial businessman. He has a huge, massive business. He's got a loving wife who's played by Susan Sarandon, a daughter who's played by Britt Marlin as well, and they seem on the surface to be living the typical kind of rich lifestyle. His wife, she seems to be into charity. His daughter works with him in the business that he's at, and he just wants to sell his business. And so for the first 15 minutes of the film, you're thinking, yeah, this is fine. You start scratching the surface, though, and you discover that Robert has got a bit of a darker side to him. The fact that he has got I wouldn't say a mistress, but he's got a lover on the side away from his wife. Somebody who he keeps on. When he tells his wife that he's going to the office, he's in fact actually going to meet her. She works in sort of like art. She's an artist of sorts. And one night when they think that it might be a good idea to just drive away, they drive away and there's a car accident that Miller's involved in, and she's killed, but he survives. However, he decides to, because of the fact that he is this big, huge, massive businessman, to get away from the scene of the crime. And unfortunately, this starts to spiral out of control throughout the film, because a detective, played by Tim Roth, is brought in as well to try and investigate what actually happened. All the while, Robert Miller, he is actually trying to sell this business that he's got. Here's a clip.
Let's just calm down.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to put out a press release. Immediately, today. We're going to say, there's no deal. There never was a deal. You're not going to be buying Old Hill. You're not going to be buying Quantum. You're not going to be buying anything. You're just a browser. Me? I'm going to continue to enjoy my earnings, and while I soar on princely wings to my next winning enterprise, your shares are going to drop another couple of bucks based on a failed acquisition attempt. Bodes well for your tenure, doesn't it?
Your price is too high.
You have a nice day, James.
400.
550.
450.
525. That's it. Yes or no? And if it's no, that's it. Any further communications goes right into my trash can.
It's a deal.
And so, as I told you in the movie, every decision that he tries to make seems to make things worse rather than better. Because it's discovered also that there's a $400 million gap in some of the finances, which his daughter manages to discover, but he tries to say, this is just wrong, and he'll look over it at a different time. So things do get much, much worse for him. Now, if this film was under different hands, if it was given to a different actor, it would have collapsed. It's all on Richard Gere's shoulders, and for the most part, he has to fully carry this film, because everything else around him is very loose. I felt like Tim Roth's character as the detective was just thrown in there just so they could extend the movie idea, rather than just being about a businessman who's sort of like, he's gone downhill with the decisions that he's making. They threw in a plot point where it is involving the mistress that he had, and she's dead, and this detective is trying to investigate her. I didn't feel like it belonged to the film. His daughter also is a very weak written character, along with Susan Sarandon as his wife. She's just there to add somebody else big into the film. Again, just to extend scenes. This is all about Richard Gere. When Richard Gere's bits are on screen, it's not a bad film. It's a decent enough drama movie. It's not a thriller. There aren't any thriller elements of this movie at all. For me, it just meandered along for the running time that it was on for. It's on for just over 100 minutes. And at times it felt like that. It felt like it was wrapping up around about the 90-minute mark. But then there was still 15 minutes to go, and you still had to have a bit more of the story. So it's slightly too overlong. And with Richard Gere out of the frame, if he was took out of the film, it would just been a majorly bog standard drama. It's okay at best, in my opinion.
I'm going to go on to Robot and Frank, which oddly enough also has in its cast Susan Sarandon. It's directed by Jake Schreier. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. And it stars Frank Langella as a retired man who was formerly a cat burglar. Couldn't think of the right word there. He is living in his sort of house, which is kind of a little sort of country house that's sort of out away from sort of a town, and so he's there on his own a lot. It's in the near future, and you have things like video phones, which his daughter, played by Liv Tyler, calls him on and sort of wakes him up, and he's kind of a bit confused for a moment before he gets his bearings where he is. His son comes and visit, played by James Marsden, who speaking to him about things that are happening, and he can see then that he's visibly having sort of potential signs of something like dementia coming over, where he's forgetting things and getting a bit forgetful, or thinks that things are what they were sort of 10 years ago in the past. He keeps talking about going to a restaurant to eat, which has been closed for years. And his son has become so worried to the point that he's travelling out to see him. He lives far away, so he can't come out there all the time, and decided to get him a gift to get him a robot helper. Here's a clip.
You have got to be kidding me. I'm not this pathetic. I don't need to be spoon-fed by some goddamn robot.
Dad, it's not like that. Okay? It's new. It's more like a butler.
You're gonna leave me with this death machine?
What's the problem? It's a robot.
Hi, Frank. It's a pleasure to meet you.
How do you know?
All right. Why don't you go on inside, tidy up, and cook us whatever food you can find?
Okay, Hunter. Good to meet you, Frank. I like your house.
That thing is gonna murder me in my sleep.
Somebody's gonna murder you in your sleep.
So Frank reluctantly accepts this robot being there. After a while, he's sort of trying to get into a routine, because the robot is trying to get him into a routine of doing things every day, so that it will help his mental stability and help his memory be a lot more better than it has been. What Frank, though, is finding is that he's not liking all this, so he starts sort of talking with the robot about things, and ends up the robot, basically manipulating the robot into helping him become a cat burglar again, and practicing his skills as a cat burglar. And it then goes on a thing of that they are involved in things like a heist of books at a local library, which is basically being shut down and just becoming a monument to libraries because technology is advanced and people don't read books anymore. It's a surprisingly effective drama. It is quite a, not an emotional drama, but there is an emotional element to it, that you can see the problems that he's having with his memory. And then after a while, when he starts then getting into accepting the robot and basically starts becoming friends with the robot and getting used to the robot being around, and it's an odd thing that happens as the film goes on, and it's genuine. It feels like there's a genuine friendship and a bond between this man and this robot, which is quite sort of funny at times. There's a brilliant gag in there about a self-destruct thing, which works in the film so much better than I thought, and had me howling in laughter at a certain bit. And just these little bits in it there, here and there, of the humour between the man and the robot. And it's surprisingly effective as a drama. There's no action in it. There's no big things in it. It's just, it plods along at a acceptable rate. It doesn't stop at any point. It doesn't go racing ahead. It's just an easy watch, and it's enjoyable and fun.
Yep, I agree with you. It is an enjoyable, fun film. It's that kind of film where you've got an idea like that and you're thinking, is this really going to work in the confines of the film? And yeah, it does, actually. It works really well. The director is seeing his limits. He doesn't go beyond the limits. He doesn't sort of like waver back from them. So
considering as well what it does with a budget, it's only made for $2.5 million. For what it does, I mean, it's set in the near future, so there's sort of technological advances, but it's not massive things like that. But it's got little bits here and there that you're like, that's $2.5 million. It works.
Yeah, you don't get the future stuff pushed down your throat, and with the
it's just there.
Budget, he uses it wisely.
It's just there, like you have a phone is there. You know, it's just used. It works. It's not like, oh, we've got to make a big point of this. It's not. It's very well handled.
Yep. On to the next film is Static. It's directed by Todd Levin, and it stars Milo Ventimiglia and Sarah Shahi. They play a couple who live in this house. He's a writer. She's really depressed. They're both actually really depressed because you find out that they lost their 3-year-old son. One night, while in bed, they've actually been sleeping for a little while. They hear a knock on the door. They open the door and it turns out there's this girl here, Rachel, who's played by Sarah Paxton. She says that she was attacked. So Jonathan, he decides to go out and look for a car to see what actually happened. However, there's these guys in these gas masks which seems to be stalking them. That's the premise of the film itself. I'll just instantly go ahead with what I thought of it. It's rubbish. It's a terrible, terrible film. It's really badly paced. There's situations in the movie. You've got this typical... Now, this is not being racist, but in a film, when you've got a black guy in the movie and you get these stereotypical people screaming at the screen going, "Don't go in there! She's in there! She's going to kill you!" or something like that. They do exactly the same kind of stupid things. Don't look yourself in there. He's going to easily be able to get in that door. Don't go in there. Can't you see that there's actually a window just behind you and he's going to grab you through the window? They make so many stupid decisions. He thinks that it's a really good idea if he goes down to his office to try and get a gun, where it's the only gun in the house, you find out, that is in his office. Fine, you keep a gun in your office just in case. His office is actually out of the house, across a huge massive courtyard, and in this little building. That's a really good idea to do when you've got these guys in gas masks stalking you down. He manages to actually get his gun, so it shows how stupidly it's written. And then this fake gun that's supposedly in the house, he finds out that it works, this rifle, by just smacking it on the table a couple of times. So he's then able to put bullets in it and use that as a more powerful gun. Yet he doesn't even use it. It's really badly done. The thing that pushed me so far over the edge is you have a twist in the film. And now the director thought that this twist is going to be a really good idea because it's going to make people go, really? But in me, it actually went, what was the point of the first 80 minutes? Because this twist completely wipes away the first 80 minutes of the film. And you just, after finishing watching it, going, that's it, I'm suing the director. Because there is no way I'm going to get these 90 minutes back, but I'm going to try my hardest to try and sue this director to get those 90 minutes back, because what I've watched is just major waste of my time. I could have even learned how to knit in that time and it would have been much more enjoyable. It's a terrible, rubbish film. Sarah Paxton actually should be ashamed of herself because she's been in a few good films as well, and this is just a slap in the face.
So you'd rather go and see The Smurfs 2 when it comes out instead of seeing this again then?
I'd rather actually get lost in the cave.
I'm going to go on to the last film of the night, which is The Assassination. It's also known as The Assassination of a High School President, but here it's being released as just The Assassination. It stars... it's directed, first of all, by Brett Simon. It stars Reese Thompson as Bobby Funky. And that's really, honestly...
Glad you didn't really mess that up.
Yeah, me too. But he's a pupil at a high school. He works for he's on the school paper, although he's never really written anything and finished anything to actually get it printed. He's then sort of looking into things when everything's sort of going normal at the school. Everything seems fine. When he's called into the principal's office, the principal played by Bruce Willis in this movie, and he's called him to the principal's office with a bunch of other students because of something that has been stolen. Here's a clip.
I'm not entirely certain why I'm here, sir.
Really? It's fascinating.
This is why you're here. This. You've got a gun problem that's rapidly turning into an attitude problem. That's why you're here. I don't like gum. I don't like your snooping around. You are all filth. Your parents have obviously spoiled you, or in your case, possibly abused you a little too much. Now, one of you little vermin broke into this office and stole the SATs last night. Of this I am certain. But I beg you, I beseech you, do not come forward. Because I will have the pleasure of tracking you down, much the same way that I tracked down that camel-humping ammunitions envoy 2 clicks east of Tigris, the birthplace of civilization. Dismiss.
So Bobby then sort of gets interested in this and starts investigating it to actually look into it, because he's kind of been pushed into it by the principal, and also he's thinking that he wants to look and figure it out so that he can then find out what's going on. And as he starts to do this, he starts to look into other things, and things kind of start to unravel. One thing leads into another and another, and so on, and finds out there are all these different things that are going on sort of in the background of all the pupils and everything at the school. It's, as you heard in that clip, Bruce Willis is kind of very weird and off-center in it. He's playing sort of this principal who has a very weird view on how he views the pupils and how the school should be run and such.
He sounds a lot like Captain Kirk there. We have reached the final frontier.
It's like, and things like when he's talking with the student's spitting gum, and he hates gum, so he actually like reaches into their mouth, grabs the gum out, and throws it away. It's like that kind of a weird thing like that. It isn't a comedy, but moments like that did honestly make me laugh out loud. It is more of a drama. The thing is, it's not anything exceptional about it. I mean, at times I was watching it and I'm going, I've seen some of this before in things like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and like Superbad as well came to mind, but not for the comedy elements, for certain story elements and things. And things like Dazed and Confused, that whole teens at school sort of thing, and everyone just getting on. It also has a thing as well where, believe it or not, and I'm going to reference a film which I thought I would never reference with this kind of film, it kind of references The Usual Suspects with the whole storytelling, because it's him looking into things, finding all these different threads and finding how they're all interconnected, and then putting the dots together and explaining how it all works. And it's fairly well written for that aspect, and fairly well acted. It doesn't quite gel together as well as it could. But I was surprised that I came to the end and I'm like, I'm enjoying this, and I've laughed, and Bruce Willis's character is making lots of inappropriately funny comments and references to things. It's that clip you heard there just now. If you could have seen that clip, we couldn't have shown what he was doing, his mimicking movements and such on a family sort of themed show. You can hear it, but what you can see what he's doing, that would not have been appropriate at all. So it's that weird kind of humour. There's just that kind of moments in it that did make me laugh, did make me get into it, and I cared about the characters, and I enjoyed it.
Actually, I was just, while you were talking there, I was just thinking, he sounds a lot like Jeff Goldblum. Because the way he was talking during that clip, Jeff Goldblum talks a lot like that. He has times where he's really taking a breath while speaking, and he has like a really kooky kind of feel to him, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, I think it's more meant to be like a thing like he's kind of restraining himself from blowing up, because there's things going on that are sort of out of his control, and he's sort of a control freak. I mean, every now and again, he's kind of like he's more like a more controlled version of John Goodman's character from The Big Lebowski, someone who's almost traumatized by war and can't stop talking about it. Every time he's talking about something, he references that he was in war and things that happened. So it's that kind of a mentality that oddly enough works for it and works for his character, and made me laugh as well.
Okay, then before we go on to the usual McGubbins, TV movie of the week.
You pick one, I pick one. Mine is on actually twice this week. It's on tonight, so if you're listening live on the Monday, you'll be able to watch Watchmen on Film 4, Monday the 15th tonight at 11:10. If you don't see it then, and you're listening to us later on in the week, it's on again on Saturday the 20th at 10:50.
Yep, and the one I've chose is also on Saturday the 20th on BBC One and BBC One HD. Sounded a bit like an announcer there. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, at what time?
Describe it. It's 6:30.
Yeah, so it's going to be edited. It's going to be cut to ribbons. Why show it that early?
I don't know. They're showing that, and ITV are countering with them by showing all the Harry Potter films. So starting off with the first Harry Potter film, The Philosopher's Stone, or The Sorcerer's Stone if you're listening in America. But yeah,
I thought they'd be waiting for that to finish, for their run of the Star Wars films to finish, and they take over that with Harry Potter for the 7 weeks.
They've been showing the Star Wars films on ITV too.
No, that's what I mean. I thought, because they've only got Return of the Jedi left, and then they run out of something to show every Sunday, so they could just stick in Harry Potter on there.
I think the way they're doing it though is so they can lead up to Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah.
So maybe it's able to show Deathly Hallows Part 2 slightly earlier.
It's still going to be a while off before they can show Deathly Hallows Part 2.
you never know. They might have signed a deal where they could show it slightly earlier, but that's on a different time, right? So that's it for this week's show. Shout outs. Go to our site, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Slightly lacking on content at the moment.
Yeah, I'm working on some stuff now. I've just been a bit sort of behind on some of them. I am working on a write-up for Pacific Rim, so that should hopefully be up on there in the next couple of days.
I don't do write-ups. All I do is just my usual stuff, box office top 10. I should, if that's the case, if you're throwing up lots of reviews, I should start throwing up lots of trailers.
There is a trailer I want to put up on there. I want to put up that one, Seventh Son, because it looks interesting. It's Jeff Bridges, and it's a big kind of epic-looking magic battle sort of thing. It's had delays coming out. It should have already been out earlier this year, but they've delayed it because of the effects company run out of money. So hopefully this will look good and be good.
Yeah, and it's San Diego Comic Con, so therell be a lot of stuff coming out of there, trailers, posters, stuff like that. So I might bombard the site with a few bits and bobs like that. So check out our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, or on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, everywhere. You've also got Following the Nerd Thursday nights. They didn't have one last Thursday. They're back with this Thursday. Next Thursday, though, they go gallivanting off to Germany. Lucky people, because they're sponsor of some Star Wars fest. Unlucky people, but they go journeying off to Germany next week. So check their show out on a Thursday night. Few people involved with them. Vote Saxon07. Check him out on YouTube. He does all their toy reviews on there. MenageAGeek.com. Their show goes out once a week. They're doing a top 5 this week. Al, Lou, and Bryn. You've also got Lolacost and the Gamescast. We mention them every single week. Their content, check their stuff out. Serum Foundation and Slater, I follow on Twitter, doing Playing for Palsy as a sort of like a charity thing that he's doing this weekend, where he's doing a 24-hour live stream. And finally, From Page to Screen, from page number 2 screen.com. It's Stuart, the guy who we work with on the movie show, and Andy works with him on the British show. So that's it for the shout outs. Movie of the week.
Pacific Rim, in the loudest, biggest screen possible.
Yep, Pacific Rim as well. If you can see it on IMAX, which I really wanted to do, see it on IMAX, then see it in IMAX. Andy said that it's in the 3D is post-converted 3D, so pointless.
It is, yeah. It's been converted. They didn't. Guillermo del Toro didn't want to do it in 3D, but he was made to do it. So I still haven't seen it in 3D. If you see it in IMAX, obviously the IMAX is gonna be 3D, because if it's got a 3D version, that's what they'll put in IMAX, unfortunately. But I mean, it's a kind of film that 3D might work on it, but you know.
Yeah, and before we go, Booger in the live chat says he'll do a review for the site for some rom-coms, so we're going to hold you to that, Booger. Maybe. Right, play you out with a clip from a film that we're reviewing next week. It's The World's End. It's the final part in the Cornetto trilogy, so until next Monday at 7:30, goodbye.
Sam, would you like a drink?
Hey, Steve, she's just got here. Come on. Sam, would you like a drink?
I'll have a vodka tonic, thanks, Stephen.
Sure.
Just going to nip to the loo.
Cool. Nature calls.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm going to the toilet.
Well, then so am I.
Gary, you are out of your mind.
What are you talking about? You gave me the sign.
What sign?
You went to the toilet.
Gary, are you serious? I haven't seen you in 20 years. Do you really think I'm going to have sex with you in the ladies' toilet?
Well, the disabled is out of order.